did an interview the other day, and it was interesting because people ask me a lot of times why I'm so into Batman. And the reason I give changes a little bit over time, but it's, you know, partly because he was kind of his own self-made man. And so this woman asked the question, and I wish I remembered who I would have given her credit, but she asked the question, I think it was Caitlin Schiller from Blinkist. She asked the question, do you think Batman was successful? Or what made Batman successful, I think was the question. And I said, Batman was successful because he was obsessive.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Hi.
You know those fidget spinner things all the kids have? Batman fidget spinner. See it? Does that work? See it? Ooh, Batman fidget spinner. My somewhat joking answer to that question about Batman being obsessive goes like this. Here's this guy whose mom and dad get murdered in front of him, and he's a billionaire. So he could do a couple things. He could just, you know, he could just hide from the world. He's a billionaire. He doesn't have to go out and make any money. He can just live off the money he has. That's not a big deal. He decides he's gonna go train up to be a strong, physically active detective and buy all kinds of weird gear like Batmobiles and Bat Jets and Batarangs and armor and all that kind of crap so that he can go around and individually punch out bad guys one at a time. Like, I'm gonna drive over to the Joker and beat him up. I'm gonna drive over to the Penguin and beat him up or whatever. That's what Batman did with his money. That's insane. He could have bought a police force. He could have bought some kind of rehabilitation system. He could have bought a pile of robots. Who knows? He was a billionaire. And he chose to equip himself so that he could go and beat stuff up because he's obsessive and crazy.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you, Harold, my dinosaur. Oh.
Josie is my favorite.
But is obsessive a good thing? It can be. It can be because the things that I obsess over, the way I look at the world, there's just such a few lenses that I focus on in my business dealings. How do I make some experience better for a customer? Like, how do we use technology to drive better human interaction? That's one of my things, and that's how I work with companies in lots of different ways. That's one way. Another way, I'm fairly obsessed with the idea that people need to realize that they matter and that their ideas are good and that they need to share their ideas. And not everything we think of as great. Oh my gosh, I've had a billion bad ideas. But that it's important to get in the habit of sharing and connecting with people. Simple, smart, and shared. I think this is the way to look at stuff. Is all obsession bad? No. Is there business value in being obsessive about things? I think yes.
I won X amount of chips. Yeah. I don't, that just, you keep track of that amount. Right, I don't have like physical chips that I take home and then bring back.
Sam Calagione from Dogfish Head is obsessed with beer. He loves making delicious beer with really cool ideas, really cool ingredients, historic things like ancient Ethiopian hops and stuff like that. He's obsessed with it. And I think it's a great idea because this helps him stay focused on the thing he wants to deliver. Where we get wrong is either we think our obsession isn't good enough or we haven't yet found a way to channel one of those things we're obsessed about into some kind of business. And there's one other challenge. Sometimes our obsessions are about the consumption of something. Sneakerheads are obsessed with buying the latest sneakers, but it's really hard for enough people to make a business out of being obsessed with buying sneakers. There are sneakerhead blogs and websites where people have made plenty of money. Sneakerhead YouTubers, right? There's some people who do this, but it's a very limited market, and it's probably saturated enough that it might be hard for you to break in. So some obsessions, if they're an obsession of consumption, might not work as easily for you for a business idea. But if you can be obsessed with creating something, modifying something, adapting something, then you're talking. Then people will pay attention, especially if that obsession can help someone's life get better, make their business better, make some experience in their world somehow better. Iced tea without the ice, so coldish tea. What did I tell you my two obsessions were? It's helping companies figure out how to use tech to drive better human interaction, and also helping people realize that their ideas are worth expressing, right? So these obsessions drive something else forward for somebody else. Those are the kind of obsessions you want to look into. Something that's going to be in service of others, something that's going to connect others to some better success. Those kinds of obsessions are what are going to drive you forward. But there's just a little bit more to the recipe of obsession, because you have to have curiosity, you have to have a willingness to fail, and you have to share a lot of your experiences, good and bad. If you don't, then you're just like a lot of other people. And if you only share the good parts, people aren't going to understand the story so well. If you aren't curious enough, or you don't do enough research out into what else is out there, you're going to have a very narrow view. I'll tell you something. So as a book author, a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, I want to write a book about how it's important to understand what your reason is for doing things, and I'm gonna call it Begin With Why. And I'm like, oh, like start with why? What are you talking about, they'll say. And I'm like, have you read a book in the last 20 years? If you're gonna be obsessed with something, you have to immerse yourself in that culture. You can't just skim the top of it. So I wanna write a book. You probably ought to be reading some books, right? I want to create video. You should be watching other people's video. You want to be the leading authority on autonomous vehicles? Well, then keep digging into the research. Make one in your backyard. I don't know. Obsession requires curiosity, failure, and sharing. It's super important. Get obsessed, or let your obsession shine. You can do some cool things with that.